For 2025, Mercedes-Benz iconic G-Wagon gets some light updates on the outside, but one very big change under the hood. So does that ruin its character? What's up, folks? I'm Dave Underkoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. Mercedes' rugged G-Wagon SUV has been powered by a V8 for years now, but all that changes for 2025. Under the hood now is a turbocharged inline-six cylinder engine, plus some other changes to styling and content inside and out. So does this G-Wagon have the same panache that made it famous? Let's go spend some time with it and find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, let's start by taking a look at some of the exterior changes for 2025. They are very minor, so you gotta kind of look closely. Main changes are to the grille and to the lower bumper. It's a little more streamlined, a little more aerodynamic now. We also have this chrome brush guard. You will see this in black depending on the trim. And for context, the G550 now starts at about $150,000, including destination. And the version we're testing today with some options is $170,000. Moving to the side, there really aren't many changes to the styling of the G-Wagon that you can see here. Our tester has optional 18-inch alloy wheels with a more aggressive kind of off-road oriented tire. We also have some black trim running along the side here. And then in terms of dimensions, this is actually quite a bit different than some of its competitors. So for comparison, a Range Rover would be about 9 inches longer than this G-Wagon, and a Bentley Bentayga would be about a foot longer. But then in terms of height, this is much taller, about 4 inches taller than the Range Rover and almost 10 inches taller than the Bentley. Finally, at the back, really not many changes to the styling of this G-Wagon. It does maintain sort of the modern but also classic look that has made the G-Wagon famous for so many years now. Finally, one more thing I want to point out is that unlike most other SUVs on the market today, this door swings to the side rather than swinging up. But in Mercedes' defense, it opens the proper way. It means if you're parked on the curb right here, you have really easy access to the trunk. All right, now let's take a look under the hood. And as I mentioned, this is where the biggest changes to the G550 happen for 2025. Gone is the V8, and in its place is an inline turbocharged six-cylinder engine. This now makes 443 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque. That horsepower is up a little bit over the V8, but the torque is down a little bit. This is now paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission and full-time all-wheel drive. As you might imagine, there are a couple benefits to replacing the old V8 with this inline-six. One is it's actually faster. 0 to 60 is now 5.3 seconds. That's a few tenths of a second faster than the V8 it replaces. And then there's the fuel economy gains. This is rated at 17 miles per gallon in the city, 19 on the highway, and 18 overall. That 18 rating is 4 miles per gallon better than the V8 that it replaces. Plus, you also have much greater range now. This has a 475-mile range on a single tank of gas. That's up from 370 miles on the old V8. All right, now let's talk about the interior. But before we do, I want to point out two things that are really pretty cool and unique about this G-Wagon. One is the sound that the doors make when you close them and when you lock them. This thing, it looks like a bank vault and it also sounds like a bank vault. I'm not sure the sound's going to pick up here, but it's just such a solid mechanical sound that you really don't get on many cars today. That's pretty cool. And then the other thing that I really like is the visibility. You sit up very upright in this G-Wagon. So many vehicles today, including SUVs, are getting more aerodynamic, and so you're leaning back and you're sort of in this more streamlined position. You get in this and it's kind of like a Jeep Wrangler. You're upright, you've got a great view of what's in front of you. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, I really enjoy it. Now to the rest of the interior. And what I love is that despite this being this upright, off-road oriented SUV, it is very comfortable and luxurious inside. You've got a pair of screens here, 12.3 inches for each of them. You've got a digital display for the instrument panel and then an infotainment system here. This has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto connectivity. Down here, you also have wireless smartphone charging, so you really have a really nicely integrated system. Another thing I really like is you have options in how you're gonna interact with this screen. This is a touchscreen. I really like the screen itself. It's bright, it's fast, it's responsive to your touch. And if you don't want to use the touchscreen, you do have redundant controls down here. This is a touchpad, and then it's surrounded by physical buttons, including one for the volume. So that's a really nice mix of how you want to interact with this system. And then down here, you have physical buttons for the climate control. So overall, this is one of my favorite setups in the entire luxury ecosystem. A lot of cars these days, especially luxury cars, are going to full touchscreens or touch-sensitive panels, and it's really hard to interact with them. This Mercedes, it's very straightforward and yet really high-end. I like that combination. There are also some great amenities that I like in this G-Wagon. We've got heated, cooled, and massaging front seats. That's really nice. We also have this open pore wood that really looks nice throughout the cabin, and then it's complemented with these brushed metal accents. That's pretty cool. Another nice touch is the Napa leather on the seats. It's quilted here. These seats themselves, really good bolstering, very comfortable. But yeah, that Napa leather, you've got the quilted pattern down below. You've got it on the door panels. That's then complemented with some stitched leather on the rest of the cabin. And then up top, you've got this really nice faux suede headliner. But there are two things that are sort of old school holdouts that I don't love about this G-Wagon. One, no panoramic moonroof. It does have a sunroof, but it's not the big wide open space that you're getting used to on luxury SUVs these days. And then another thing that's a little strange, a little bit of a head scratcher, is there's no keyless entry. I have to actually take the key out of my pocket to lock it or unlock it. I know this is a first world problem to deal with, but on a car that costs $170,000, don't you think you should be able to get in it without going through that trouble? Just a bit of an oddity. All right, now to the rear seats. And as you might imagine, very comfortable back here as well. You have the same quilted leather seats. There are 3-stage heated seats back here, which is a nice touch. We also have our own climate control system. And then down below that, 2 USB-C ports. I will say it is a little cozy back here, especially when you compare it to the Range Rover or to the Bentley. As you might imagine, legroom is down by about an inch relative to those competitors. As you can see, I'm 6'1". I've got the seat to where I would have it if I were sitting up there. So I do have plenty of space. It's not like my knees are touching, but it's on the tighter side compared to those rivals. Headroom though is spectacular. Again, this is such a tall vehicle. You've got more than enough space for headroom. So overall, yes, this is comfortable back here, but a Range Rover will definitely pamper you more. Another sort of old school feature in this G-Wagon is how complicated it is to get these seats to fold, right? There's nothing power folding. It's all done manually. So the first thing you have to do is put this headrest down. You then have to fold this seat cushion up, and then this down. And once it is down, yes, it's flat this way, but it's absolutely not flat going into the cargo area. So yes, adds some utility, but definitely in an old school way. All right, now to the rear cargo space. And I love the access that this door gives you. Really easy to get to the cargo space, but this is where you're gonna see the effects of this being a shorter vehicle overall relative to its competitors, the Range Rover and the Bentayga. You've got 35 cubic feet of space back here. In the Range Rover, it's 43 cubic feet of space, and in the Bentley, it's 46 cubic feet of space. So just something to consider when you're comparing all three vehicles. All right, now to driving impressions, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. The good is that this is a very capable inline 6-cylinder engine. The turbo gives you plenty of power. As I mentioned earlier, the acceleration 0 to 60 is actually faster in this than the outgoing V8. So plenty of power in this car. This is a heavy truck, actually. It's a body-on-frame SUV, but the inline 6 totally up to the task of moving it about. It never feels slow, never feels sluggish. If you put it in sport mode, it really sort of kicks things up. So I like that. I also love the transmission in this. It's very smooth, 9 speeds. It's always in the right gear, giving you just the amount of acceleration you need. So overall, that's really nicely balanced. But then there's the downside to this inline 6. It just isn't the V8 in terms of the theater, in terms of the drama that it used to give the G-Wagon. You used to be able to hear a G-Wagon pull up to the curb. This one, not so much. It's kind of neutered in that experience. And a lot of people who are buying this car are actually looking for that. So that's a bit of a knock against this new version. You do still have the G63 AMG version that's got the side pipes and the big V8 in it. Or if you want to go totally green, you have the new EV, the all-electric G-Wagon. That's the G580. We actually tested that. You can watch that right here. But in terms of the G550, it does lose some of that theater, and I really am missing the V8 under the hood. One other small nitpick about this engine is that sometimes it can drone a little bit. If you're headed uphill, a little bit of an incline, and the car's in the proper gear, the engine just has this sort of weird, kind of annoying note that gets into the cabin a little too much. I don't love that experience. Otherwise, the rest of the driving experience is really pretty good. This is a comfortable vehicle. It's a body-on-frame SUV, which sometimes those can ride like trucks, but this is really refined. We took it on a long road trip over the weekend, up into the mountains, and on the freeway, very comfortable, luxurious experience. I love how high you sit up. You've got great visibility looking out. So that just adds to a really engaging driving experience. I like that. I will say visibility, while it's great out the front, it is a little bad, a little tricky to see over your shoulder here. This is a thick B-pillar. And then out the back, you've got the spare tire hanging off the rear. So that impedes a little bit. But like I said, looking forward, very cool vehicle, great view of what's in front of you. All right, folks, there you have it. Our review of the 2025 Mercedes-Benz G550. Pros, well, this gives you a really unique and luxurious driving experience. And the inline-6 adds a nice bit of efficiency and acceleration. And finally, this G550 is highly capable on or off-road. Cons? Well, this G550 now lacks the theater and the drama that the V8 engine used to provide. And this is expensive for what it is. And finally, it's smaller inside and out than most of its rivals. But overall, despite losing the V8 engine, which we miss very much, we are still fans of the G550. There's just nothing else on the road quite like it. Nothing makes a statement while also giving you the capabilities and the comfort that this G-Wagon provides. So for reviews or listings of this G-Wagon or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And before you go, like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. We'll see you out there.